retake the stage for us, please. And the panel is going to be hosted by Brad. So Brad, welcome back to the stage with us.
I'll just give a quick introduction. I know Shirach already did, but Rebecca and Manu?
Yeah, good afternoon. My name is Rebecca Jacoby. I'm with U.S. Bank in the corporate, commercial, and institutional banking operations.
Yeah.
Yes. Thanks.
I'm Manu Gandhi. I'm with Xerox. I lead our Xerox IT Solutions business.
Awesome. Well, thank you all for being here. Let's dive in. And look, we're going to try to save a few moments at the end in case there's any questions or you want to ask of them. But let's just start out, and I don't care in particularly what order, but how do you define workforce intelligence? I'll start with the new. I'm looking all the way down.
So I love what Wally talked about. Like, if you ever watched the movie Moneyball, right? Like, that's what started data and analytics in sports. Sports does one of the best jobs of understanding what each player is doing, how well they do it, when they should be played, where they should be played, how they should be played, and they've perfected that. And you can see it in every motion that happens throughout really any game in any sport. In the corporate world, somehow we measure every metric that's available except for the one about labor. Like, what are our people doing? Where are they doing it? When are they doing it? How are they doing it, right? And so the biggest line item in all of our budgets, we have almost no clue what's going on. And then when we go to the contingent workforce, and so many companies, including ours at Xerox, outsource a whole bunch of our corporate functions, we just assume and hope and probably pray that those providers are delivering on what they committed to, even though intrinsically we just kind of know that they're not, but we can't prove it, right? So workforce intelligence is that, figuring all of that out and having that information available to us so we can make the right decisions. Just like, I've been watching the World Series and all the playoffs because I'm a baseball guy. Like, they will swap out a pitcher 3 times in an inning because they just know it's the right thing to do, right? We have no clue what to do in the corporate workforce. But Sapience provides us that intelligence to go make those decisions.
Awesome. Rebecca?
Well, I did the Chat GPT thing, right? So like workforce intelligence is considered a systematic capture, analytics, and interpretation of data on employees with the objective to improve your organizational health and make strategic decisions. That's the internet search answer for workforce intelligence. My answer is, and I say this a lot, and it was a big billboard in New York City when I was here a couple months ago, is just basically don't bring a hunch to a data fight is the idea that I go with.
That's a great one.
Yeah.
I like that. Shirach, anything you want to add?
Yeah, so if we think about what all intelligence we have about our customers, do we have that much intelligence about our workforce? No, right? So I would try to think from that perspective, right? So what all information do we have about the customer? We know what their price, what do they want, where do they, take the decisions, who is the sponsor, so on and so forth. But we only have fraction of that information about our workforce. So
It's filling a lot of blind spots.
yeah.
Yeah. Yes. What's been your most one or two just successful applications of the technology that would be useful to hear about?
I think the obvious one is just employee health. We call it employee health from not only the areas where we can optimize employees that we've talked about, but also the ones that are stressed in our organization. I think there's often times where there's inefficient processes going on. I think within the first 3 months in our organization, there is an individual just opening multiple Word documents throughout the week, like to the tune of just like 3 seconds and then closing them. And it was amazing that information is bubbled up right away. And the data obviously then drives the discussion And after having the conversation, they're like, well, we're like the fourth line of control of checking to make sure that the procedure had the right font and format. But I don't know how they were doing that with 3 seconds or less. But so just in that first 3 months, we were able to shut down that process and save that individual, first off, from annoying work that they hated and there was really no value, and then moving them to work that they actually enjoyed and that brought value to the organization.
Yeah, great example.
I think for us, so we have a unique place in the world of Sapience. We're a client for both employees, for the contingent workforce, and then we're a partner that goes and sells the platform to our clients. I think, what Rebecca just said, from an employee perspective, I think for us, and I was talking to Priya about this earlier, we had a hunch that post-COVID, with distributed workforces, that we were probably sub-optimized. We actually thought we were better than the average that Sapience told us they saw across their entire organizations or client base. And we were worse by about 10%, showed some of our numbers. And I mean, that kind of hit us, right? Like, we were worse than average in an organization that we felt we managed pretty well. And so why was that? What was the perspective? One of the things that we realized is our employees, right? There were some that worked really hot, 10, 11, 12 hours, many that worked 1, 2, 3 hours, but most of them felt like they were actually working not just an 8-hour day, but more. And the insight we got was, like, at 7 a.m. they'd start, they'd look at their emails, they'd send out 3, 4, 5 emails, and then they'd walk away, breakfast, get the kids off to school, whatever it might be, come back a couple hours later, work for a couple hours, then go to lunch, walk the dog, dry cleaning, whatever it might be, come back, work for a couple hours, right? Kids come home, got to get them situated. And then at 6 o'clock, they would send the last set of emails out. So in their mind, they felt like they were working 11 hours a day. 7 a.m. when they started, the first email, to 6 p.m. when they sent the last email, right? But ultimately, they were working somewhere between 3 and 5 and 6 hours, right? And so having that data, not for us, like, it was valuable for us to get that, but to actually share that with our employees was super valuable. To kind of transparently show them, hey, like, we have a gap, here's the data, let's go fill that gap, right? On the contingent worker side, we saw what, like I kind of mentioned, we intrinsically knew that we weren't getting value for these offshore contractor resources we had, the commitments that were made. And those numbers were much worse than the employee population. And it allowed us to go have some really frank conversations. But those were, I think on the offshore, on the contingent resource side, we kind of knew, and the data validated it. On the employee side, we found some really interesting insights that we could share with our colleagues and help them, for the ones that wanted to navigate the change to a better place.
Awesome. Do you have anything you'd want to add?
So I'm not a customer, so.
Yeah, okay. Fair point. So, do you have any unintended consequences? Have you either seen, and I know for you, Sharat, you can start there, you've heard from interviewing a lot of different companies doing similar things to us, of unintended consequences that came from the use of this type of technology?
So from my perspective, from the conversations that I've had, nothing major has come up from a consequence perspective. Most of them have high regards to the kind of insights that they have been able to glean from the dashboards. Some of the consequences they have been able to navigate through executive sponsorship, manager toolkits, keeping everybody on the same page, being transparent. Senior leadership are actually taking the first step, right? Hey, we are going to implement the platform for, let's say, the senior leadership, and then we will see how that's working out, and then we will expand within the organization and so on. So from my conversations, not a lot of unintended consequences, I'd say.
Either of you?
Yeah, I would also say really uneventful. I think the biggest component that we did was focus on ensuring, full transparency, managing the conversation, ensuring the right people had access to the data at the right level, and then staying true to that, not exiting employees based off of the data or utilizing it in, like what you said, like the negative way, but uplifting the employee with the awareness, and then just using that data accordingly. So I think if you manage the conversation and you stay true to those promises, that it is a positive. And we have a survey, and it really hasn't, there has not been a lot of feedback. I think your top performers love it, and your bottom performers might not be a biggest fan. So.
Yeah. I think we were fully transparent throughout the entire process. We communicated to our colleagues. I led the communications because I felt, at the time when I was CEO of the previous firm that got acquired, that they had to know that this was being led by the leader, right? And it wasn't an HR thing or a technology thing. So we were fully transparent. We led the conversations. I think we expected some of the negative, right? The big brother type stuff that people would expect to say. We were hopeful, Rebecca, to your point, that the people that were working 9, 10, 11, 12 hours were like, hey, you see me, you see me now.
Yeah.
And they were finally someone knows that I'm working, and just as much that those people that I knew that weren't working aren't working, and they're helping bridge the gap for me, right? And that was super important for us in our transformation to get people to buy into it. I think the other thing is we had to get the managers to buy in, and once they did and they understood the tool and how to use it, they are our biggest advocates because they now know what's going on within their teams. They know how to redistribute workload. They know when they can go ask for additional resources, when they can't. And they actually carry the torch forward way more now. We're really felt well done to the journey. They carry the torch forward well more than the leadership does at this point.
Yeah, I think just to add on from the manager perspective, it goes into that fact, I really need to hire this person. Why do you need to? Well, I just believe that the team, that we really need to backfill. But now you can provide capacity numbers and real data that states that this team is working 10 hours a day or per person, so you need to fill the position.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would just add to one thing I think, Manu, you were going down, which is when I gave my words earlier and I said one of the things we drive towards being is a culture-enhancing platform. And I will tell you that I think one of the great culture-killing vehicles is a terribly underperforming colleague. Mm-hmm. That if you want to take away trust at all levels in your business, don't address somebody that's only working an hour or two a day. Because I promise you, every one of their teammates knows that they're not, and that becomes a reflection on management of saying, why doesn't the manager do something? And then that becomes all the way up to the CEO of what kind of culture are we building here? And so over the years as we built this company, and I've heard this statement, oh, it's going to hurt my culture. And I say, you not knowing this data hurts your culture far more than saying we're going to give a platform. Because my belief is after doing this on a lot of companies and a lot of people now is that 95% of all employees are good employees. They want to work hard. They care a lot about performing. This data is really valuable to them. And so if the trade-off is you're going to build a franchise for the people that are already hurting your culture, that's a bad business decision in my opinion.
Yeah, and Brad, if I may, right? So in a lot of my conversations with HR leaders, there is this emerging category of manager effectiveness solutions, right? So right now what is happening is organizations are trying to put more power into the hands of people who can really make the change. And those are frontline managers, people managers who have, if they have been given the access to some of this data, they can actually really make change, right? And that is an emerging category and conversation topic that I've been hearing a lot.
That's very interesting. Well, I know let's slightly pivot here and talk a little bit about AI, because that's a big theme for us tonight as well. What changes to the workforce are you expecting from AI? And how do you expect workforce intelligence to at least help you navigate some of these profound changes we're going through? Anyone want to take that?
Do you want to go first?
Sure. So, we're a technology solutions company, so we deploy and employ it in many aspects of our work. We expect to get productivity, like we all do, right? So it's a matter of, are we getting the value for the investments we're making in some of these AI capabilities and platforms? Sharath talked about our Copilot example. When we first said, hey, who wants Copilot? Everyone raises their hand. We're all in. We're going to do it. Well, Sapience helped us understand how many people are actually using it on a day-to-day basis. And then we went back and said, hey, listen, you're only using it, 10 minutes a day. That's not going to get us the value and the return on investment. So unless you can get it up to what we need you to, we're going to pull the license, right? And, it's like $30 a license per month. Doesn't seem like a lot, but that's $360 a year. And, take the number of colleagues you have that you're thinking about it, it starts to add up. And yeah, so like we use it for that. As we start to make more and more platform decisions, as we just did a massive order to cash migration for the legacy business that we're integrating onto our platform. Being able to see how many people are actually using our order to cash platform, how many quotes are coming out, how often are they into the systems. That's super helpful. It may be that they just weren't trained well enough. It may be that they've checked out, right? We don't know, but it gives us a chance to go have that conversation and to arm our managers with the data they need to drive the outcomes that we're looking for.
Yeah, for us, it's just about the complexity of work. So Sapience gives us data on like how often people are toggling, flipping screens and so forth, going into different applications. And from that data, we can understand which roles in our organization are highly complex and which ones are easy. So from a point of AI, it can really help you navigate what roles and responsibilities would be best suited for an AI solution versus ones that, the development and the installation of AI wouldn't necessarily bring the best value. So that's a lot of clarity, and I can't even articulate enough on understanding how many applications we use in our organization, and how many people say, I swear I use this. Don't take away my license, and I haven't seen you touch it in over a year.
Yep.
So
Yep. That's exactly right.
You just turn it off now. We don't even ask.
Yep.
So that's,
They won't even know. They won't even know.
Yeah, they don't know because they don't use it.
Yep.
Yeah, so a couple of things, right? So following on the workforce planning sort of example, right? So we have something called 4 Bs, right? Build, buy, borrow, and bot, right? So organizations are trying to figure out, A, where can I bring in automation and AI? Second is, how can I make my workforce more productive in the human AI collaborative ecosystem that they want to build? So having some data around, how can I bring AI, where can I use AI, that is one use case which I've seen a lot of organizations thinking about if they have good insights about what the workforce is really doing and what the work they're doing. The other part of the challenge is about getting measurable outcomes and success from AI implementation. So we have a framework called PTSD, which says process has to process has to be well defined. Technology has to be good. Skills of the employees and the workforce to manage AI and to work with AI needs to be good, and data has to be good, right? So. Yeah, having some of those insights will really help organizations in their AI journey.
Awesome. Well, I want to see, leave us for one more question, but I'm going to give one more question and see if anybody out here has anything. Is if you had to people considering going on to workforce intelligence, one piece of advice you'd want to share with anyone, just in terms of anything.
Well, when I saw your question on this, Brad, I looked into see, how much do we spend on labor? So the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics stated that 70% of our operational expenses on your labor. So I guess the question and the critical point I would say is, how much do you want to, go off of intuition around what you're laboring? I know you started with this. I mean, it's a massive expense in our organizations, and so it's important to understand what you're getting out of that expense and that spend. So that would be my 2 cents as far as why you would want to build a tool around understanding the data.
Yeah.
I think for me, and again, having deployed this with employees, with the contingent workforce, and then helping our partners, our clients navigate this journey, and I just talked to Priya about this, go faster. Like, do it. Don't worry about the cultural ramifications. Don't worry about what someone might think, what your vendor might think. Go faster, because you need the data. Without the data, the largest component in your P&L, you have no visibility to. We were so thoughtful. We were so worried about killing our culture. We took multiple steps, and then when something kind of hit, well, let's pull back, leadership, let's reassess, let's think about it, let's talk it through. And we lost 4, 5, 6 months in that process of just making sure we didn't screw up, but you're not going to screw up because all you're doing is gathering data, analyzing the data, giving it to your colleagues, giving it to your managers, right? And so whether you use this for a contingent workforce, where you should go at light speed, or your employee base, where you should be thoughtful, you should think about the culture you want, the transparency you want to deliver, all of that, but just go. And you will have issues, and something will not go right, and someone will call you big brother, and it's all okay, because you have a responsibility to all of your employees, to all of your shareholders, to your clients, to your partners, to serve well and do well and be performing at optimal levels. So go faster. Don't hesitate. We did. It slowed us down.
Yeah. So action over perfection wins any day, right? And the other thing which I would like to share from my research perspective is you look for the low-hanging fruits, right? Some of these things need not even start with the workforce. So understanding the unused licenses or understanding shadow IT, shadow AI, those are very easy to figure out with solutions like this, and you can actually get the insights in a matter of weeks, and then you can really go and have a conversation with the vendors in terms of license reduction, or have a conversations with the workforce that, hey, these are not approved by the IT. These applications you're using that not approved. So we need to safeguard our IP, our data, confidentiality, and so on, right? So there are a lot of things that you can do even within the first 1 month, which are really low hanging.
And we'll pay for it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, okay, well, thank you very much. Let me ask out here to anybody. Anybody have any questions for any of us? Yes.
So I've got a comment and a question. So
Okay.
first of all, Brad, I think amazing event. And
Thank you.
Panel, thank you very much. First comment is Peter Drucker, a famous author and consultant, once said, if you cannot measure it, you cannot manage it. Right? And I think that's exactly what Sapience brings to the table. The question for the panel is, what sort of productivity have you been able to see through using Sapience, or how would you quantify the productivity gains?
So I think you might have seen our slide. We went from 68%
93.
capacity that's being provided to 93%. So that's a 25% increase. We did that in about a year, maybe 14, 15 months. It was significant. It helped us create better outcomes for our clients and for our business. And from a financial perspective, it drove our operating margins up quite significantly with better outcomes.
Yeah, for us, it's not necessarily as much as productivity as just as, first off, just managing staff. So where there's opportunities in certain teams, we move those resources to teams that were over capacity. And then the other component that we used was around our Excel usage. So we had a substantial amount of processes in Excel, and it went from 38% to 35% by implementing innovative and efficient activities in our organizations. So deploying automation, finding those practices and making them better and less manual, those were some of our biggest outcomes.
My question's for Rebecca. Oftentimes in banking and finance, we get a lot more kind of issues with compliance, regulatory items, stuff like that. It sounds like you're using a non-anonymous mode where you're looking at the granular level of things with the individual. Did you hit any problems with HR, legal, compliance? And if so, how did you overcome them?
Oh, well, those are always fun conversations. Yeah, I mean, I think I wouldn't necessarily say problems, but it was a lot of dialogue, months and months of going over, how we would communicate to the employee, who would have access to it. We definitely ensured that it doesn't go down to the junior manager level. They can only see their data, and then they have conversations with managers. So we had to put some guardrails in place in order to ensure HR and legal was all compliant. We also do, when we deploy it, we articulate a letter that states that this is now on your machine, and then we do a disclaimer after that, and then we send an e-card to say congratulations, just to normalize it. So we do a lot of things in order to cross-check those boxes with HR and legal. Yep.
Yeah.
So I work for Heineken, and half of our staff is sales. How would this translate to people who are not on keyboards every day, out just selling for the company?
I can answer that if you want, or if someone else wants to take it. So, well, first of all, Heineken, can we talk later? but it has nothing to do with this about Sapience. I'm just wondering if I can get a discount. But anyway, so yeah. So we have deployed this over time on Salesforce. I think that if you go back to my opening comments, Sapience prides itself, we are a non-judgment company, and I think it's ultimately about you having an understanding of what your expectations of what a salesperson does all day. So this end data is better than anything you have, because in the end, like, we drink our own champagne. This runs on our own sales teams at Sapience. So I want to understand, I don't expect a salesperson necessarily to, be banging out on their keyboard all day, or, but there are certain activities that you can see in calendars. Are there meetings? Are there, outbound Teams calls? Are they, working on research or collaboration? And so it's all about how you want to actually look at that data, categorize it, and what you decide is successful in terms of the activities that you would think that sales team should be performing. And so, we drink our own champagne at Sapience. That's something that, we look at, and we actually look at that from a role-by-role basis, because clearly, your sales team behaves differently than your development team, than other teams in your business, but it's still highly effective, and it's still a lot more data than what you have today to understanding of what makes it up. And then I would argue that some of the most valuable benefits we've seen on sales teams is actually, you would be shocked. So everybody designs their organizations with this like mythical salesperson that works one day a year and sells a giant big order and doesn't do it. But what you actually find out inside of larger companies is that there is a real art and science to selling. And that your top performing salespeople that make their quotas year after year, there is a reason. They are adhering to a certain set of work activities over and over and over again. And so I find it incredibly valuable to find your top producing sales resources and understand what are those repeatable, and you start understanding how can I bring people that are missing their quotas up or upskill them through the organization. So yes, are there pieces of data capture? Sure. If they're having an impromptu Heineken with a prospective client at a bar somewhere, we probably don't pick that up. But you do pick up all the activity that would even enable that meeting to occur in the first place.
Yeah, and actually, I think what I like about some of the things that you all were saying were making me a little nervous about, just like the hours on keyboard, where it's about working smarter, not harder, right? And I think that's essentially what we're all trying to get out of here, is like our staff, internal, external staff, working smarter, not harder. So being able to leverage those insights and then apply to others who may not be as effective or efficient.
Yeah, 100%. And part of it is it's not just about keyboard time. We have integrations. We integrate with your calendar. So we're picking up, and even when you have a fully open system, even things that our system can't pick up, the employee has the ability to go in and actually fill in their time or fill in the activities they were doing, which, again, if I believe the vast majority of employees want to do a great job, you start to really gain insights behind. Sales is one of my favorite roles for what we do, because a quota doesn't lie. So when you see somebody that makes their quota quarter after quarter after quarter, it's been amazing to me of how many people don't want to understand what activity made that salesperson successful. Because there is repeatable behavior. That's what we found.
Right, we have time for one more.
Okay.
You have your hand up?
Yeah, thank you. So when you guys are rolling out the tool across your organization, I imagine you guys must have faced like pushback, a little bit of defensiveness from the resource managers and their bugs. How'd you guys manage that?
So for us, like, I was on the front line. So it was an initiative that came from, me and my office, and so we took the questions on head on. We had global town halls, we had individual, group and team meetings. We met with the managers, and it was open forum, and we got some great questions, and we addressed them, and we told them exactly what we were doing, why we were doing it, the value for the employee, the value for the firm. We talked about, Brad talked about Fitbit. We talked about, all of us, like, I try to get 10,000 steps in every day on my, Apple Watch. Like, we all have 10,000 steps of work we have to do every day, right? And this is a great tool for each employee to figure out, are we getting to 10,000? Am I getting individually to 10,000? If I'm not, why? What else could I be doing, right? Am I super efficient? Can I teach that to other people? Am I just don't have enough work and I need to raise my hand, right? But it lets you get to 10,000 steps, right?
Yeah, I mean, nothing accounts for better than just being upfront and transparent. And then you put Darren on a Q&A session, and it's all good from there. In all fairness. But I think the other thing is just articulate exactly what you're going to use the tool for. Share with them the practices that you want to get, application, reduction, increase staff in areas where there's stress, and then deliver on it, and then communicate it. Yep. So show them the evidence of the work that the tool can do, and stay true to it, and don't do the stuff that they think you're going to do with it, which you're not. And it works out well. Yep. Yeah.
All right, well, thank you all so much for your time and participating here.